what is about, but these four bodies are sure, and you have to must remember the previous two, that is Sabha and Samiti. Now, so this is the political life of both the periods. In later Vedic period, slowly the role of these bodies became weakened and king became more powerful. So here you can see during the later Vedic period, the Sabha overtook the Samiti in relevance. That means Sabha became more relevant. The group of elder people or the upper house is became more relevant. King and upper house make maximum decisions. The Samiti, Gana, Vidatha, slowly they became weaker and weaker. That means administration was controlled by very few peoples now in later Vedic period. Then some other important points are, what about the taxes in both these period? So there was a tax at in the early Vedic period named Bali. Obviously, Bali means not any type of sacrifice to cutting the throat of any animal. No, Bali is the name of the tax that is given by the Jana or citizens to the king for their protection, to protect their cattle. And Bali tax is voluntarily. That means there is there was not any fixed amount or any certain portion. This is voluntarily because king was not salaried, army was not permanent. That's why tax is also voluntarily. You can see it was simply a voluntarily contribution made on special occasions by ordinary tribesmen. We can say just it's just a tribute or some gift on some parts of their grains, some parts, some portion of their cows or other products. While in the later Vedic period, these taxes became compulsory and some other taxes also included. For example, Bali is continuing, then the second is Bhag. Bhag means the part, the portion. And third is Shulk. Shulk means the fee. Gradually assumed the form of regular tributes and taxes. So in the early Vedic, taxes are uh, voluntarily named Bali. In the later Vedic, taxes became compulsory. There are three types of taxes. When we talk about the army, so in the early Vedic period, there was temporary army. Whenever they have to face any war or fight, the each and every person who can fought, they became the army personnel. The Sena or army was a temporary fighting force made up of able-bodied tribesmen who were mobilized during wartime. While in the later Vedic period, army army was appointed. A rudimentary army emerged, and all these lived on the taxes offered by the people. So now, when you have permanent army, obviously you have to pay salary to them. So where you have to pay salary, obviously from the taxes, which are now compulsory. I hope everything is clear. Then, what is the status of Brahmins? Brahmins, because they are in the higher position according to various texts. So, during the early Vedic period, they performed the yagna or yagya. The who performed the yagya named as Purohit. Okay, they received a large portion of the Raja's gifts and assumed a superior position in comparison to the other members of the clan. But there is not any type of discrimination or any exploitation. Taxes and tributes are voluntarily. It's totally depend on you how much you want to pay them. If you want, you can. You do not, nothing to worry about that. Okay. But in later phrase, king and the core members of the body Sabha, or we can say the Brahmins, they became more and more powerful. They perform various yagna with very high fees. Rituals became very expensive, and that's why a common person cannot perform the yagya or they cannot perform the rituals, as rituals became very expensive. Okay. The status of the officiating priest became at par with the gods in the later period. The officiating Brahmana had to be satisfied with dana. Okay. Now we are talking about the social life. So what is the family system, or what was the unit of the family? So the family belonged to a larger group known as a wish or clan. That means that means right, the unit of the uh, tribe was, first of all, there is kul. Kul means the family. Then many kul form villages or gram. Okay. And some villages with a common clan form wish, or we can say clan. Okay. And then these wish or clan formed jana, later rashtra. So this is the unit from the lower to upper. Presently we can say there is village, on upper on the village there is block or taluka or pargana, then district, state and country. Here we can say another thing is kul or family, then village gram, then vish, that means village of same clan people, then jana, and then rashtra. Rashtra, a word introduced in the later Vedic period. The jana was the largest social unit here, while here the largest social unit was rashtra. I hope. Okay, good. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Then Varna system. Maybe you hear about the four Varnas. So in the early Vedic period, there was no Varna system, but in the last time of the early Vedic period, Varna system became developed, and in later Vedic period, there are proper mentioned four Varnas. That means Brahmans, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, and slowly they also became the region to exploitation, to discrimination. There was no discrimination in the early Vedic period, but in later Vedic period, there was discrimination on the basis of various varnas, or we can say, in the last era of this early Vedic period, the varna was on the basis of their occupation, while in the later Vedic period, the varna decided on the basis of birth. I will also explain this later. Then what about women's? What was the status of women in the society? Fantastic. In the early Vedic period, they have equal status compared to the men or male. You can easily say, despite the patriarchal nature of society, women played an important role in it. They had been educated and were entitled to the assemblies. That means they can participate in the Sabha and Samiti as well. They can make their suggestions for the administration. Some important women are, so there are some named mentioned. First one is Apala, Vishwaswara, Ghosha, Lopamudra. These are women saint, or we can say the women's authors or women's intellectuals who are, whose name was mentioned in the early Vedic period. Recently, there was a book uh, from an woman author named 100 Vedic Women, Untold Tales from Indian Folklore. That means there are more than 100 names mentioned in various Vedas. Obviously, it means these women were played very important role at that time in any dimension of the society, or political administration, or any other thing. But in later Vedic period, this status of women was declined, status was fallen. You can say they were considered subordinate to men now. and were not involved in any major decision making. Slowly, they also stopped or limited for education as well. Their participant in public meetings was restricted. Child marriages were becoming common. Okay, so this is the difference. In early Vedic period, you can read they were free to choose their partners and could marry whenever they wanted. Maybe you heard about a word Swayamvar. For example, today is Dashera. So, how Lord Rama was married with Masita? Obviously, with a process named Swayamvar. So, in the assembly, in the court of King Janak, Masita can choose from whom she want to married, and he choose obviously Lord Rama. There are certain examples or many examples of Swayamvar in Mahabharata also. So here women are free to choose their partner or when she want to married. But in the later Vedic period, they are restricted about all these decisions. Then there is another term, Varna Ashram. Varna Ashram means, so generally there are 4 ashramas in India, or at that time, that means Brahmacharya. Maybe you heard about that. Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasi. That means each and every human should gradually enter in these ashrams. After one, the text mention 3 stages of life. First one is Brahmacharya, that means student life, generally the first 25 years of the age. During this phase, men or the human will gather all type of knowledge, materialistic knowledge about agriculture, about war, about medicine, and various other things. And then they entered in the grihast or householder life. They married and then they start their family. After the age of 50, generally, when now their children are totally grown, they are settled, then these people enters in the third phase that is named as Vanaprastha Ashram. In the Vanaprastha Ashram, uh, society expect that now these peoples made their contribution for society. They provide various services for the betterment and upliftment of society. Later, the fourth stage was added, that is sannyas. Sannyas means you do not want to attach with this materialistic world. You do not want to get married, to start your family. You just want to make prayers. You want to the knowledge of God or creator or soul. Who am I? These questions raised in your mind, etc., etc. Though the sannyas ashram, that means the fourth stage, was not compulsory for each and every person. And sannyas ashram is also not a fourth stage, but at any time people can get in sannyas ashram. That means uh, a student can also enter in sannyas ashram without uh, going or without making any family or any married life, etc., etc. So this whole concept is known as Varna Ashram, which developed in the later Vedic phase. I hope this Varna Ashram and Varna system is clear to all of you. If yes, then put some comments. Then we will go with all these images. Good. So here you can see a Varna system. The Brahmin, the Kshatriya, the Vaishya, the Shudra. World system is based on occupation, not on birth. But later, this became rigid and decided on the basis of your birth. That means a son of a Brahmin became Brahmin or known as Brahmin. A son of a Kshatriya is known as Kshatriya. But in the early Vedic period, there are certain stories mentioned in Veda, that means which depict that there is various Varna people are living in a same family. That means father can be a Brahmin or can be a Kshatriya. His wife can be from any other Varna. If he have two or three sons or daughters, they can be related from various Varnas. Means what occupation they adopt, they divided into or categorized into that particular Varna. That means if a person have two sons, one is in the field of teaching, so he is known as the Brahmin. The another is a soldier, so he is known as Kshatriya. If any third son or daughter, if he is doing some trade work or agriculture, then he is known as the Vaishya. But later, these Varna system became rigid and became on the basis of birth, which developed discrimination. And again, in the next later phase, the development of caste and untouchability also found in the later Vedic and the later phase of the Vedic era. Obviously, this discrimination form various tension in the society, because now this system became a mode to exploitation, to discrimination. Okay,